Welcome to the Chasing Ebenezer show. This is a show where we talk about stuff, play you some music, and encourage you to be creative. This season, we are exploring the art of being human. We want to say thank you to our patrons who support us each month. If you want to know more about that, visit us on patreon.com/Chasing Ebenezer. For more information about our musical endeavors, visit chasingebenezer.com. We hope you enjoy the show.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Chasing Ebenezer show. We're back with some creative ideas for you. I'm Heidi, this is Benjamin. We have our coffee cups here providing emotional support to us, as you have mentioned.
Yes.
And it's good to see you again. So thanks for hanging out with us.
Yeah, and we want to say thank you to our patrons who support us each month. We are so grateful.
Yes.
You might notice it's been a while since we've done a video, and it looks a little different. You're not going crazy. We moved. We got a townhouse, and patrons, you're kind of part of the help for that on the journey. So thank you so very much. We're excited to be filming from here, and we're going to convert our garage into a recording studio. So lots of good stuff going on with that.
So thank you for bearing with us as we're temporarily doing that. And I'm excited about this new place. And you have set up a vinyl listening station. So
Yes.
I'm excited about that. Apparently, you were surprised by how many Christmas vinyl albums that I have.
It takes up almost half of our record collection.
And what's wrong with that?
Well, anyone who knows me and my complicated relationship with Christmas music and musicals,
maybe you'll just fall in love with Christmas carols
I just
over again.
I just might play the game of Hide the Musical.
You just never know. And you are excited about something you got for your birthday. You just turned 42.
42. I know. Well, the other day I had my friend David over. David, who's our band member emeritus. He played bass and electric guitar on our albums. And apparently when you invite David over to your house, he invites people over to your house too.
Good job.
So good job, David.
That's the way you should do it.
So I gave him the tour. We walk out, and all of a sudden, Ryan, our drummer, and his wife show up, and they had pitched in to buy me this thing called a Picasso. It's a guitar bow for my birthday.
So it looks like a magic wand.
It is a magic wand. You go on YouTube and watch this. It is incredible what people can do. But it's basically a orchestra bow for your acoustic guitar.
It looks like a small lightsaber.
Yeah. And I learned a lot. I learned about like putting rosin on the bow and how much pressure you put on the string so it doesn't sound like you're murdering an animal and all of that. So thank you, David. This will be put to good use. And it gave me a lot of appreciation for what you do.
Yeah, you should appreciate me.
I mean, I already did, but...
You should appreciate me. No, it's not... Bowing is... Yeah, it's its own thing.
Yeah,
but you're gonna get it. You're very good at teaching yourself instruments, so you got this.
I got a sound. I've tried it once, and I got the sound out of it,
You're gonna
which
get
was
it
nice.
quickly.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. Have you been feeling your humanity lately?
Well, I think I've been annoying you a little bit lately, as in like 3 minutes ago, probably.
Yeah, I don't know.
You can admit it to our friends. Yes. I think that moving and it's tax season, all that stuff, just there's so much stress going on, and so it's difficult to figure out how to rest when you have.
That's a good description of it. That's a great description of it.
And just feeling discombobulated between, like, living between two places.
You should see our other place.
Oh, no, you shouldn't.
Oh, my gosh.
No, you shouldn't. No one is invited over there ever again because it's such
chaos.
No, yeah, the moving, the moving, the worst phase is like.
Our cat has been spending a lot of time in our bedroom because I think that's like the place that seems normal to her still.
Hides.
Yeah.
So, and just like. What you just are thinking, I'm thinking, whose crap is all this stuff? Like, whose stuff is all this? So apparently it's ours.
It's ours. Yeah. Well, yesterday for my birthday, you got me a gift to go do a float. Go to a spa and do a float. Now, if you've never done a float, it's basically where you take a bath for 90 minutes.
It's It's an extended bath.
It's awesome. And I'm a bath guy. Love it. So
You
I know.
used to not appreciate baths.
I know, but as my
Now you're the
stress and
bathy
my life has increased,
Batherson.
I appreciate it greatly. So what they do is you go in there and it's this tub that's filled with like tons of salt, and you lie down and you float, and it's sensory deprivation, it's quiet, and it's 90 minutes of that in the dark. And it was amazing. Like I felt so relaxed, but then I started getting stressed because I was worried, oh, am I over my time? Are they going to charge me if I go over? Those kind of things happen. But what I noticed was that I lost all sense of time being in that kind of environment. It was like it could have been 30 minutes, or it didn't feel like 30 minutes. It felt more like 3 or 4 hours.
Wow.
I'm like, how has it only been 90 minutes?
Wow. Okay.
So
That's
yeah,
cool.
it was just really neat to kind of notice like how like our senses affect our concept of time and all that. But I got out and I felt really mellow the rest of the day. If you're a person that's not claustrophobic and a fan of silence, I highly recommend doing it.
That's good. That's
yeah.
good. So for I don't know how long we've been talking about creativity and being human. So we're going to talk today about storytelling and how that plays into being human and you creating stuff. So let's do it.
Let's do it. So one of the first stories I remember being told as a kid, my mom would read to me before I go to bed. I'm sure a lot of people, this was their experience with storytelling. And I don't really remember the story. I remember the pictures vaguely, and then I remember my mom telling me things I used to say to her when I was a kid. So it was a story about Moses and the story about him being found in the river and Egyptian,
the Nile River.
Drawing him out. And what I remember my mom saying is that I'd always look at the lady's hair in the pictures and say, "Oh, I wish she was my mommy." And Mom, if I've told that story incorrectly, you are free to fact check me and correct me there.
You're glad that
I am so glad that person was not my mom. I'm glad that my mom is my mom. She's awesome.
Aww.
But yeah, that was one of the earlier stories I remember being told.
Oh man.
What about you?
Okay, well, I have two memories I'm thinking about. In second grade, I had a teacher who she read us some of the Knights of the Round Table stories, King Arthur, Camelot, and it I don't know, I never had a book read, like stories read to me that were that, it felt like they just snatched me into the world. So as far as reading, that is one of my earliest memories, and I'm so grateful.
So the teacher read to you?
She read it to the class. Like in the afternoon, we had a reading time where she would read to us. And I think we would draw, or like, I think if I remember, we could like draw or, listen. As far as being told stories, one of the earliest stories I remember being told is my mom. She actually, when she was a girl, she wrote a story that made it into the newspaper. And it was this story. It was this story about this horse and all that. And so she won, but they called her mom and told her, "You're going to have to change the name of the main character, which is the horse." And my mom didn't understand because she had spent all this time trying to come up with a word, a name for her character, sounding out letters, and she'd come up with her own word and name. And this was, 50s or early 60s. And she, "Well, what do you mean?" "Well, Farty the horse was not at the time appropriate for publication in the newspaper." And she's like, "Farty, I made the word up." Well, so she had to, I think, change it to Snowy. But I can just picture her
slightly different
sitting
than
at her
farty.
desk with her pencil like, "Hardy, darty, farty." Just thinking she created this name and this sound that no one had ever heard of before. So we thought that was hilarious. So yeah, my mom was a good storyteller.
I remember going, first off, by the way, great job telling that
Oh,
story
thank
of your
you.
mom.
Oh, thank you. Telling the story of the telling.
You know,
Yes,
the
yes,
facial
yes.
expressions and the
Yes, the
mannerisms
facial.
did a
Yes,
ton.
the sound effects. Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
very, very good. I remember my dad and we'd go camping and we'd bring my dad's friend along. So in addition to, learning jokes that I would never be able to repeat in school, he would tell stories, but the way he would tell stories, it wasn't like there once was this, this, and this. He'd say, hey, you know that you heard that there was like this crazy person that, got loose and was around here.
Oh, right.
And so of course,
so you don't necessarily know he's telling you a story.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
especially as a kid.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And then sometimes, he would try to figure out a way to like hide in the woods when you go to the bathroom. He was just yeah.
My violin student did that to me yesterday.
Oh, really?
Yes, she left the room and I had my back turned, and so I was just sitting there and she was so quiet. She snuck up on me and scared me to death. I'm easily terrified.
That's also true, but I can.
You scared me to death. The other night when you came home, I was fast asleep,
Okay.
and suddenly you were there.
I announced my presence. I
I
knocked
was
on the
asleep.
door.
I was asleep.
I knocked on the door. I said, "Hey," and then she turned over and screams. I mean, our neighbors have probably
digress.
thought that we've gotten murdered 3 times over.
So this is not a story about being easily scared. This is about storytelling. So sorry to derail you.
That's all right. Well, so like thinking about storytelling, even like when you get in a group of people, we usually end up talking about stories that we've heard, usually on TV or those kind of things.
Or we just tell stuff that happened,
yeah.
which is storytelling.
Exactly. So how do you experience storytelling now versus when you were a kid? Is there a difference?
Well, I listen to audiobooks now, whereas growing up I listened to some.
Mm-hmm.
I used to listen to the records the vinyls where you'd have the book to
Yeah,
follow
yeah,
along,
I did too.
and then the music would chime for you to turn the page. So I did that. That was really fun.
I had a cool shark book that was like that.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So I listen to audiobooks a lot because I'm in the car so much. So I don't know if that was really the answer to the question, but how you listen to stories now. If someone has the gift of storytelling, though, like if someone is really good at it,
Yeah.
I gravitate toward that. So I think I realized that it's such an art form to do it all. So I appreciate storytelling more than I did when I was younger, because I get now, it's hard to be a good storyteller.
I think as a kid, I really liked storytelling just for like being fascinated, just for being amazed or being scared. I still like to be scared. But as an adult,
Sorry, that was so lame. That was so lame.
and it's not getting cut.
That was so lame.
As an adult, I think I'm seeing that storytelling has a lot to teach me about being a man now. And the act of telling my story and telling what I've experienced is also a part of being a mature adult. And I'll probably talk maybe a little bit more about that later, but there's more. One is for like amusement, the other is for meaning, I guess would be the best way I could describe it. And so that's probably how I relate to it a little bit more now.
Well, I realize more the older and older I get that telling people what to do is not very effective. And so storytelling, parables, fairy tales, those kind of things, they are actually very effective. Manipulative,
Say more.
when we're crafting a story, we're essentially trying to share a message, but we're kind of doing it in a way versus you shouldn't steal things, versus crafting a story that shows, the pitfalls. And so, there's an art to it. Is it?
I feel like there's a difference between propaganda.
Right. Yeah, sure.
Right?
Sure. There is.
I've heard that said before. Some art is just propaganda.
Sure.
But like, there's something that's subversive about art, and it's helping you come to the conclusion yourself. It's just giving you that gentle little push.
Right.
And letting you react to it.
So I realized that parables, stories, that kind of thing, those help me consider a perspective versus someone just saying, don't do that, or what's wrong with you? You know, that's not as
Right.
effective. So I'm just seeing that more as an adult now too, kind of the different ways that we communicate, and story is powerful.
Very. We're treating storytelling like it's this thing that's like
Like it's new.
it can feel novel, but really it's maybe more the idea of oral storytelling is something that I think is getting recovered. There's a lot of different types of storytelling. Which kind do you kind of naturally tend to gravitate towards?
You mean if I'm telling a story or if I'm hearing a
If you're
story?
hearing something, there's
I mean,
visual storytelling.
We all know I'm addicted to television.
Yeah.
And movies. So that's if I'm tired or if I'm doing something else and just need a break. But the kind that really moves me is generally if someone's telling me a story, like in the same room or an audiobook. I do very much hearing the voice of the storyteller is very impactful for me. Now, it can also ruin it because with an audiobook, the narrator makes or breaks it.
It's true.
If it's not a good narrator, I'm done within about like first chapter, I'm done because there's so many good audiobooks out there. So the content is just as important to me as the narrator. So that's something I'm always looking for if I'm listening to someone preaching a sermon or listening to audiobooks or storytelling. I want the narrator to be just as compelling as the content.
That's good.
So I guess I'm just snobby in that way.
It makes sense. We have a guy in our house church who is a storyteller. I mean, Robert is a storyteller, and he's got a voice for it. Like when he starts talking, it's really quiet, and you lean in and you listen, and he can draw you out. He's very gifted at that. He's a natural at it.
So I guess it depends. If I'm just not wanting to do any work, then yeah, I can put on lots of things, because I think that hearing a story requires something too.
Yes.
So there's the part of the storyteller, but then there's part of the listener. And if it's a deeply impactful story, then it requires us to pay attention, to be participating. Because I don't know if we tend to think of listening as an active participation, but it really is.
It absolutely is. Yeah. Well, because I was thinking about this a little bit as you were talking. I tend to move towards visual storytelling like television when I want to numb out, when I'm just kind of wanting to escape my life. And I do that mainly with like things that you can binge watch. When we watch a movie, I have to pay more attention.
Okay.
Like we watched, yesterday we watched the new Pinocchio on Netflix.
Oh my goodness.
Which visually,
you want to just, you got to watch it.
It needed to be a visual story.
Yeah,
it was
sure.
great.
Yeah.
But that required me to devote time to actually paying attention and listening. Yeah. I realized that for me to actually be fully present, being in a oral storytelling situation or reading is that requires more of my focus. And it's more beneficial, honestly, because it helps me be engaged, not disengaged.
Yeah, yeah.
So I really, really resonate with that. So a few years ago, I did this rites of passage thing with a men's group I'm a part of. And one of the things that just struck me was we gathered around this, and I mean ginormous fire. And there was a guy that just told like one of these stories that you could tell was old. It was folklore. It was like a fairy tale.
I love those.
And and like I even think he might have had like a flute or something he was using. It was super.
That's like Mr. Tongueness.
Super cool. And it really spoke to like the issue that we were dealing with on a day. And it was just so just that experience felt like you were connecting not just with your present moment, but with history. It kind of blurred those barriers of time, and that really stuck with me. and is like maybe really drawn to it. So, reading books about stories. Robert Bly's really into this kind of stuff where he takes a story and then analyzes like these old fairy tales about why they're meaningful. But being in that kind of environment was so amazing.
Well, and that it's been happening for so long that it's only been, since the printing press really the book thing.
The book
thing.
Well, they had scrolls.
Yes, scrolls, but your average person wasn't going to have that. So
right.
Oral storytelling is so part of the human journey. And it's just that now that we have all our stuff, that books and owning your own book and not having to really memorize plot points or that kind of thing, we don't necessarily need to do that anymore. And so I want to be someone who's kind of well-rounded in that. I want to be literate and I want to read, but I also want to hear storytelling and I want to tell better. So it's kind of like we need all of those parts of storytelling and to song. Like, that's why some of the artists that I love are their songs are stories. That's like in the Wheel of Time, the Gleeman.
Oh yeah.
So there's just music and storytelling go really well together because you can kind of memorize lyrics that maybe if you were just memorizing them as a poem without the music would be harder. But that's, I think, why folk music is so popular and has been, because you can memorize words if there's a tune to them, at least for me, because I have, me, how hard it is for me to memorize words.
But you make up words really well.
I just make up words on the spot. I know.
You're really good at improv. I have to tell you that.
Improv is just closing your eyes and acting like it's on purpose. and just give a little, oh yeah, shake, make it passionate. Oh. La-di-da, making up my words now.
You're improving right now.
I'm improving right now, whether you want me to or not.
Well, and one of the things about oral storytelling is that you have to have ingested that story, especially if you're going to be one that tells it. That's why plays are so, you have to embody the story that you're telling. And that can be really intimidating for people. So like, sometimes it's not just like fairy tales and made up stories. Some of the most powerful stories are the ones that are just the stuff that our own lives are made out of. That's why, like, if you haven't listened to this, listen to The Moth.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
It's a fantastic podcast where people are telling their story. And it's short. So it's not like these little stories are like really short stories, but they grab you and they're very, they're really good. And their book on storytelling is really good as well.
So learning how to tell your own experiences in a story grabbing way is super valuable.
Absolutely. I'm the men's group I'm a part of. I'm in a group that's doing storytelling once a month. So it's like kind of like practice. So they give you a topic and it's like the first one was tell a story about how you got one of your scars. And so all of these
do you want to tell us?
It'll take too long.
Oh, it'll take too long.
It'll take too long. No. But maybe sometime I will. But being able to actually go to those places and tell those stories is really helpful for you, and it connects with the people who are listening.
Well, and I think when you start to, we were talking earlier about the emotions of life, how we can have emotions when we think about, when I think about everything.
Yeah.
You want to tell them the new phrase you come up for with my feelings and emotions about life? Go ahead.
Heart hemorrhoids.
Okay, you'll be like, let's not have another hemorrhoid of the heart moment here if I'm getting super And I say, what's wrong with heart hemorrhoids? However, if you can look at your life though and kind of pinpoint the story that you're on, it can help you kind of process through just when it's just this wall of emotions, and because emotions are important.
Absolutely.
But if you can kind of track in someone else's life or your own life, the story, the journey that you're on, it can kind of help to balance out some of
It can be very healing to do.
Yes. So there you go.
There you go.
Heart hemorrhoids.
Heart hemorrhoids.
You heard it here.
When we're looking at storytelling and as creatives, obviously it connects us in so many different ways. It's great for healing. I mean, you were saying that when we're making art, what's the story you're trying to tell?
Yeah, because even in a painting, there's a story being told.
Yeah.
Even in an abstract painting. Now, sometimes the viewer might have different opinions about what the story is. But if you think about whether it's a dance, even if it's an instrumental piece, what's the mood? What's the story that the creator wants to communicate? And that can help kind of focus.
Yeah.
Sometimes, because if you're like me, you can just be all over the place with the ideas. But when you think about, well, what's the story I want the person to take away in this painting or something like that, it can kind of help bring a little focus.
What are some prompts?
Listen to the Moth podcast.
Yes, listen to the Moth.
Get a book on storytelling, from the library, any of those things.
The Moth, their book is really good. How to Talk Like Ted.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of has some connection with that as well.
Great
That's a
book.
really good one.
Sharing your story, what you're passionate about. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And listen to a great story. Tell someone a story. I think we already did it.
We did.
We covered them all. The heart hemorrhoids took care of all of it already.
Yeah, and speaking of stories, next week, the show will air next week, but
April 1st.
April 1st, thank you. We're going to be playing in Al's Den, McMinimans, as a trio, and we've called it Rugged Anthems, is what we've called it. And the point of it is we're going to be telling some stories in between our songs as a part of our show. So if you want to get tickets there, you can go to our website, go to our Facebook, and get tickets. Tickets.
And now we're going to do a song for you. This is also going to be the demo for our patrons, our $5 patrons. And up a month, you get a demo. In case you didn't know, you should log in and check it out. But this song is a song that's been meaningful to me for a number of years. It's The Parting Glass. Mm-hmm. And I was first made aware of this song by Jim and Elise Fielder. We met them over in North Portland, and he was one of the bass players for Blood, Sweat, and Tears. It was just this by chance meeting, kind people. Oh my goodness. And so this is a Celtic song. It's an old folk song. And the narrator of the song, there's just so much emotion and storytelling that I was, doing research on the song and just the wanting to understand who this person is. And so I wrote an additional verse as well. So just
because
love
that's
this
what
song.
Heidi does with public domain songs.
I do. If the public domain song, I'm like, I wish I would have written this song. And so then I just write an extra verse because that's just, they inspire me.
That's right.
So I hope you enjoy it and write your own story this week.
Write your own story and tell your own story this week. All right.
Tell it.
All right. Enjoy The Parting Glass, and we'll see you soon. Bye.
Of all money that here I had, I am spending in good company, and for all the harm that I have done, alas, it was to none but me. For all I've done, for once I've waited to memory I can't recall. So fill for me the parting glass. Good night and joy of all the comrades that here I had. They are sorry for my going away, and all the sweethearts that I have had, they would wish me one more day to stay. But as it falls unto my lot that I should rise and you should not, I will gently rise and I'll softly call good night and joy be with you all. It's good for man to feel so small, colored by the things I'll never know, to stand before a mountain high, rustled by the winds of days gone by, to look up to my God above and whisper now these words of love. So fill for me that parting glass, and I'll drink to my sweet sleep at last. So fill for me the parting glass. Good night and joy be